And so I went to Santa Monica Art Institute, which is basically like like that Phoenix College. It's basically like that, but for art school. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. I haven't paid a dime of that. And sure, did I go into collections? Yes. In 7 years, did it all go away like it's not a problem? Yes.
Whoa. Film school hack.
Yeah, just film school hack. If you don't have to pay anything. What do they do? Take you to jail? No. Like, getting a car loan will destroy me financially, but, like, besides that, I'm doing so good not paying a dime to that college.
Hey, I'm Alex C. Cohen, and welcome to My First Film, the video podcast where we ask some of Hollywood's hottest directors how they made their first film. Today, I'm really honored to be joined by Clay Tatum. He made one of my favorite movies of 2022 called The Civil Dead. It is such a charming debut feature. Clay and Whit are two of the funniest guys working today, and I'm super excited to be sitting down with Clay to talk about it. They made this movie for next to nothing. They pretty much got $30,000 from a friend who was just interested and kind of wanted to see what movie they would make, and I'm so glad that it worked out because it's an amazing film. We're going to talk to Clay here in a second. Just make sure to stick around to the very end to hear a quick update on my first film, Petunia. Without further ado, here's Clay. All right, I am here with Clay. Clay, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me in your beautiful home.
Thank you. I'm super excited to get into it and talk Civil Dead and everything else you guys are working on. Why don't we start by, you can tell me where you're from.
I'm from Gulf Shores, Alabama. Originally Birmingham, lived there for a little bit, moved to Gulf Shores. Gulf Shores is like a little island right off of Alabama, and it's like borders Florida, so that's kind of the thing. It's known as Redneck Riviera.
Tell me about growing up in the Redneck Riviera. Were there cameras around? Were there film classes? Or how did you fall into this world of comedy and filmmaking?
I got into it through skateboarding. In the skate world, you want to get better at skating, and when you get better at skating, you want to film it and make skate videos. And I got really interested in filming, and I was like really interested in editing. And then eventually me and Whit got injured really bad, and I was like, well, I still want to film stuff. And so we just did like sketches, stuff that we would probably put on YouTube if YouTube was big back then.
Totally.
But they were just things that we would just do, show to our friends, and then just go, well, I guess that's the lifespan of this video.
And around what age was that at?
It was 13 or 14. I was like, we were getting into making skate videos.
Yeah. Were you was there any auteur behind the camera, or was it kind of just put it on a tripod and you guys have a stage and just do your sketches?
No, there was no like camera work, and like the camera movement wasn't a big thing. It was really trying to figure out how to make something, like how to capture coverage and then edit the coverage to make it seamless. And so at first it was like, you say a line, and then you say a line, and then you say a line, and there's just, that's what I was interested in.
Yeah.
Just figuring out like the basic mechanics of filmmaking.
Yeah. So as you guys are approaching college age, tell me like what the conversations are like with your family. It's like, am I going to be a filmmaker? Am I going to do comedy? And like, how were they feeling around that time?
My mom was like, she didn't really get to go to college, and her family, no one in her family went to college, and so she was like dead set on me going to like some college, but like I was a proud D student, and just doing just like the bare minimum to get just so I don't have to like repeat a grade, and so like I use that as like my thing of like, oh, I'm bulletproof now. No college is going to accept me, so now I don't even have to think about this. I could just move out and do my thing because that's all I wanted to do. So just to appease my mom, I applied to like all these like art schools, just knowing that I was going to get not accepted, and some of them require a portfolio. And at this point, I made so many films. And I knew how to make a good DVD and a DVD menu and all that. And just the fact that in like 2005 that you could do that, that guarantees you a scholarship. And so I got a scholarship at SCAD University at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And I was so fucking mad. I was pissed off that my plan didn't work, that I couldn't fucking get denied. And so I went for one semester, and I was like, it wasn't even a full ride, so I had to like sign up for all these like Sally Mae shit. And like everything just bummed me out. And I'm like, this is so much money, And even though I am getting like 15,000 per semester or something through my scholarship, I was so pissed. So I only lasted one semester. I was like, I'm just gonna move to LA, and here's what I'll do. I'll find like a cheap college that I can go to, and I'll just do a year there, just so like when I move there, I can do something.
Yeah.
And so I applied for, what was the college? Santa Monica Art Institute, which is basically like like that Phoenix College.
Yeah.
Like it's basically like that, but for art school.
Yeah.
And so I did like a year and a half there, and it was, I think it was like 10 grand altogether. And here's the funny thing, I haven't paid a dime of that. And sure, did I go into collections? Yes. In 7 years, did it all go away like it's not a problem? Yes.
Whoa. Film school hack.
Yeah,
Just
film
don't
school
pay.
hack. If you don't have to pay anything. What are they going to do? Take you to jail? No. And so I think that did turn into 10 grand, turned into 20 grand through debt collection. But I still get calls about that. But as of right now, it doesn't hurt me. And also, like, my credit score is so bad, I don't care. I'm free. That's so freeing. Like, getting a car loan will destroy me financially, but like besides that, I'm doing so good not paying a dime to that college.
That is how did they let you come back the second semester after you didn't pay
Well,
anything?
no, I mean like that. It takes them. They go like I think it was Sally Mae is what I went through. And
Yeah.
so like it was paid to them.
Yeah.
So Sally Mae is the people that are
They're the
upset.
losers.
They're the losers.
Yeah.
Big fat losers. My thought was I can't do 4 years.
Yeah.
In college, because that 4 years I could be making films, I
Yeah.
can do whatever. And so I moved to LA. I did 1 year or 2 years at the Art Institute, and then I started delivering pizzas in Santa Monica. And I spent 6 years doing absolutely nothing.
That's incredible. So you guys were living in like a studio in Santa Monica.
We lived in a studio in Santa Monica. Then we moved to a place in Mar Vista, and then I had the great idea of like, hey, we should get all of our friends get into this place, and y'all should let me live in the closet. And it was like, I was like, listen, since it's a closet, I'll only pay like $200 a month, and they accepted that. Which is now looking back is like, no one should live in a place for $200 because you're still using the same amenities.
Sure.
But the fact that I got to do that, allowed me to buy an iMac and to buy this like HVX type camera.
Yeah.
Started making short films there. And this is like before we got into comedy, and I was making short films that were like not comedy, like, and they were more serious because like that's my aspirations at the time.
Yeah.
It was so cringy and it pained me. It like editing like made me like cringe hard. And so like then I was like, I guess I'll just make stupid ass comedy videos because that you could do that even though it's not cinematic. You can like show it to people and it makes them laugh, and that's the gratification that makes it less cringy because like they're enjoying your stuff. But it wasn't like cinema. It wasn't like I wasn't making movies or anything, which is like my main goal at the time.
And then tell me how Power Violence came to be.
Power Violence was trying to get into the UCB at the time, which was like it was like the way into comedy.
Yeah.
Back then, and he was having a really hard time. And so we're like, well, why don't we just like, I'll get into stand-up more, and then we'll just do like a group where we can do like we can release these comedy videos that we've been making. The way he pitched it to me was like, oh, Clay, you can like make movies, and like we can like screen them here.
Yeah.
Like, you can make shorts, and that would be your contribution. And then I'll just do stand-up, and then I'll have people come in. That felt to me like, oh, okay, so I'm not like turning into a comedian. I'm like still a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I get to like show, these like comedy sketches that we're making. And so like, I was like, all right, cool. And so we rented a theater in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was like $400 a month that we all split. So it was like, it was an extra $100 that we had to take care of. Yeah. But we also had like a donation thing, which no one did, but so we started doing a weekly comedy show, and each week we had to make a new like a comedy short. And I use the phrase short lightly because these fuckers came out to be like 10, 20 minutes long.
Can you tell me about those, making the shorts leading up to the Civil Dead?
The Buddhist was like, me and Whit were at the tail end of Power Violence. Like, we were like, we have to quit this. Like, we're clearly not in the comedy mode. Like, we're not like inspired to do this.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to make movies, and Whit always wanted to make movies. And so the Buddhist was like my first like attempt to like separate myself from like from like making purely sketch videos and actually taking a stab at making something that's more in like the movie world, and doing a short was like that. And I had a really good tax return, and so that alone will allow me to make short films. I got a tax return of like $2,000, $1,200 or something, and I spent every cent on that to pay the crew and the camera rentals and stuff like that. And it was
That's amazing.
making that, because it was like I had like all this pent up energy to make something, and I finally got to do it. And I actually, at the end of the day, I was like really happy with how it turned out. I was like really excited to show it to people.
Yeah. There's a really interesting story that led to the Civil Dead. Can you kind of tell me, like, recap that whole experience and who your friend was that offered you some money to make a movie?
Okay, so when I first moved to LA and I went to the Art Institute, I met a guy there named Mike Marasco, and we became friends because he was a skate filmer at the time, and he was like a skater, and I was like, oh, you skate? I skate too. And like that's how we like, started, talking to each other more. And after I graduated after like an associate's program or something, so I wasn't there for that long. And I kind of just like stopped talking to him, and he went down a certain route and I went down another route. But we would kind of touch base every now and again, and he was getting more into like commercial filmmaking and creating like his own production company that he would make commercials for all these different companies, and he would go on tour with Beyonce or something and do all this stuff. And like he was building a pretty good production company. And during that time he was like collecting all this gear. Eventually he wanted to get into feature filmmaking, and this is during the time of the pandemic. We had nothing but time just to think and to figure out what he wanted to do next. And he was like, oh, I know, like, Whit and Clay are making shorts right now. And he called me up. He was like, hey, how much did you spend on Home? I just released a short called Home. Yeah. It was like 20 minutes long. And I was like, oh, I spent like 12 or 1,600 on it. And I was like, with that, I paid for the equipment and I paid for the crew, and everything was like paid for. He was like, that's crazy. Like, that's a cheap amount of money to do something that's like 20 minutes long. You think like you can make a feature for like 30,000. I was like, of course. Like, that's like, that'd be incredibly easy. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I had an idea in my head about, the basic plot of the Civil Dead, of like a guy being haunted by an old friend. And I pitched that to Whit. I was like, hey, Whit, I have this idea. It's already greenlit, believe it or not. Yeah. Do you want to make this? And he was like, yeah, sure. And so we started writing it, and we wrote it in like a month, and then like 2 months later, we're starting shooting it.
That's crazy.
In like early 2021. And it was like exactly what we wanted to do, and it was just like handed to me. Yeah. With like zero work.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And what is your like writing collaboration process like with Whit when you guys are working on like a screenplay or a script?
It's just like, it's just we beat out the initial like idea. Like I had the beginning, middle, and end. I knew how it was going to end, and so that made it easy for us. Yeah. Because the ending kind of informs you on who this character is, so we can write backwards from that. And so it's just like, what me and Whit argue about are just like the minute things.
Are you passing the script back and forth, or is one person doing a scene in a scene, or are you doing most of the writing?
We're doing both. I'm like, I'll do this scene, you'll do that scene. Yeah. And then like, yeah, it's not like none of us was like, had more control than the other person. It was really just like a collaborative like effort. Totally. Because once you get the outline, once you already agree on the outline, it's just like, oh, so we have our task. Yeah. And then like he'll write something that I think is like too comedic, like it's too like going for the joke, or then I'm doing something that seems a little too mean spirited, and he can rein me back on that. And so, like, that's our push and pull.
Totally. And when you guys are writing, do you have the budget in mind? Like doing all these low budget shorts? Are you like, okay, we're going to make this as like big but small?
Yeah, it's just like we shoot at my apartment. We had two things that we had to think about. We had to think about like the budget restraints.
Yeah.
And we also had to think of like COVID stuff.
And did you guys improv at all on camera, or was it all kind of to the script?
It's half. I mean, it's like we thought it was more to the script than it is, but like, you know, reading the script and like watching it back, it is a lot of like, you know, improv. And that's mainly because like we wanted to capture an energy, like, you know, when people are like talking in real life and talking over each other, there's a certain like energy and electricity to it.
Yeah.
Because like you can, you know, you could tell when you watch something where you can feel the lines being read in someone's head.
Yes.
And that's like the one thing that we really tried to avoid.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is through improv. But you know, that's you have to be really careful with that because sometimes things can get too improv-y.
Yeah.
Which like we were trying to, and I think we cross the line sometimes. Also, doing improv and being in your 30s, you're going to get stamped with mumblecore, and you're just going to have to accept it. And it's okay.
I love it. Did you guys have to go out and find producers? What was like the pre-production process like? You had like 2 months to get cameras up.
That was all the person. Mike and Cassandra, who were the people who were funding the movie, they also acted as producers. And so, like, they would help us get secure locations that we didn't have, mainly the cabin. And he also had the whole camera equipment, which is like what? So the movie, the actual shooting production was like $30,000.
Yeah.
And that was only possible because he had all the equipment. Because like, we didn't really spend anything on equipment cost. And if we did, that 30,000 could easily have been 60,000 shooting footage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then was the crew like people you guys were already working with, or did he bring a lot of people?
He brought people in.
Gotcha.
And he brought the people in. He also brought in the DP.
Yeah.
And finding a DP was actually the hardest thing because like I was like I have a really specific on the way I wanted to look, and I wanted someone to be two things, like good with lighting and also a good hang.
Yeah. We
We put our DP through their paces because it's like, well, we're trying to do, we can only have 12 days to do this, so we have to do a lot of pages in a day.
Yeah.
And that's going to require you to like light something really, really quick, which is like, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because like lighting is like, to me in my head, lighting is like impossible.
Yeah. The film looks amazing. What were some of your guys' like inspirations, or what were you talking with Joshua about?
We talked about, I showed him films like Nomadland.
Yeah.
Which is a movie I don't like. I don't care for that movie. But that just, I don't know, it just doesn't, I'm not saying that this is like...
It's that like easy rigs, like floating style.
But here's the thing. This movie is going to be a digital film.
Yeah.
We're going to shoot on digital cameras, and which is going to have some big like problems, which is going to like sometimes a shot can be too sharp.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to feel too digital, and it's going to be, if you overlight a digital camera, it looks like fucking shit.
Yeah.
But you can also underlight, and it's just like a whole thing. And so I wanted to find a film that looked great.
Yeah.
Was digital, and you will use not that many lights, because I did not want to be in a situation where we're setting up C-stands all day.
Yeah.
I want to be like, hey, can we have a scene that's maybe lit by one practical light?
Yeah.
Ruben Ostlund.
Yeah.
Also was a good person because he does a lot of like locked off shots. He shoots digitally too, which is a great reference for us because like, it's like there's so many beautiful films out there, but if they're shot on film, it's just like, don't even look at them.
Cheat code. How did your wife feel about acting in the film?
She cried every day leading up to it. I was trying to do this one thing. I was trying to pitch make a shorter, do something where I have my friend play my wife. And I was like, I want to do a thing where I have a wife and like kind of mimic reality a little bit here. And my actual wife was so upset. She was like, why would you pick her to whatever? I was like, So you want to act is what you're telling me now. And so I got to use that against her when making this because I really wanted her to be in it. And so I was like, well, didn't we get in a fight about you wanting, not a real fight, but you did bring up that you were like, why didn't you think of me to play this character? So now you're stuck in this role. And she agreed to it. But leading up, she was like crying every day because she's like, I don't want to ruin this film because I really don't know how to act. And then we actually shot. Actually, the first thing that we ever shot was me and her on the couch in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the haircut.
Yeah.
That's the actual first shot of the movie. And it was like the end of the day because we spent a whole day pre-lighting my apartment. They were like, oh, let's film this first scene at the end just to kind of like get into making this movie.
Yeah.
And she was like really nervous. And then when the cameras came on, I started talking to her and she started responding. And it didn't feel like acting. It just felt like me and her hanging out. And she instantly slipped into like, oh, I understand. And like she was like the easiest person to work with.
Yeah.
Actor-wise. And like she was like actually like, you know, someone I didn't have to give notes to.
Yeah.
Because it's just us being real. With each other.
Yeah, you guys were amazing. All the performances are fantastic. I'm just mind-boggled that you guys shot this in 12 days.
It's probably not as hard as you think it is. I mean, like we did, if you watch the film, a lot of what we did was captured in one shots.
Yeah.
And I mean in a single shot. Like,
yeah.
And that was like by design to make it quick, but also that is like the style of filmmaking that I like. Like a lot of like, you know, 70s films or whatever. And, you know, the films that inspire me, you know, a lot of them do play in single shots. And I do actually like seeing a scene shot like that.
Totally.
You know, like a oneer that doesn't bring attention to itself. We had like 5 takes, mainly. But there was like some takes where we did like 30.
Well, what was like the size of your regular crew versus like a skeleton crew?
So the crew was DP, who would sometimes act as a camera op.
Yeah.
We had an AC. And then we had a grip and a gaff and sound.
Wow.
That was the crew. That was like the crew for majority, and on set is also the 2 producers.
Yeah.
My wife, who was the production designer, and sometimes Casey, our costume designer, on days where, you know, we had to like introduce a new character or whatever. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then me and Whit every day. Skeleton crew would be, it depends what day it is. So like if it's a pickup day where it's just like you need me to cross the street, we don't have sound, so we don't need sound.
Yeah.
Or if we do have sound, we just get one guy. We had our friend Jake come in for some of the pickup days, and then we had our DP who it was DP and AC.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
And a lot of those scenes were shot outside, so we didn't need the gaff or grip or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was like our smallest crew.
Break down that philosophy for me of like, okay, if we're just doing pickups, like we don't need a whole crew.
Well, no. We those pickup days we put in the schedule.
Yeah.
To fit into our normal days.
Yeah.
And Whit was like, "What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
We're wasting so much time and energy getting a shot and bringing the entire crew over to get me crossing the street.
Yeah.
Like let's push this to another day. And if Josh can't do it, we'll have Moses do it." That was our AC.
What was your experience like overarchingly acting and directing? Like, would you have it any other way, or did it just feel like this is what I have to do?
I like movies that have like the directors as the actor and stuff like that. But it is frustrating because the performance that you give in your head, or like when you're doing it and how it feels in your head, is different than what it actually is.
Yeah.
So like I edited the film too, and so like I had in my head like what I did on this day was like incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Clay. And then I would watch it back, and it would be so like stale and like tired, and like I have no energy, and I was like, that's not what I saw in my head on the day.
Yeah.
So that's really frustrating. And the one day that I didn't have to like be, because I'm in the movie like 99% of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm on screen, which is like terrible.
It's great. I disagree.
But I mean, it's just terrible for me because it's like I don't really know what I'm capturing, really. Totally. And so when I get to film the date that it kind of like follows, I just like get to watch the monitor all day, and like I had such a blast on that day.
Yeah,
because like I had a better understanding of what I was actually capturing.
totally.
And so I would love to do a movie where I'm just not in it 90% of the time.
Yeah. Did you ever have the luxury of watching playback on set, or was it just
No.
like, God, that's crazy? Did you and Joshua like shot list really carefully? Because there are some intricate shots. Like, did you feel like you guys were on the same page, or did it when you were editing? Were you like, whoa, this is so different?
Mainly, it was like, all right, let's go to location. Me and Josh are gonna talk. All right, so I want to like start walking here, and I want to end the frame here. Maybe put the camera right here. Do that. Does that work? He goes, yeah, that works. And then we'll just do it. You can storyboard all day, and it's gonna feel good when you do it. But on the day, it's gonna feel completely different.
Absolutely.
And you have to be alive when you're making a film, and like really being like, what? How does this shot actually feel?
Yeah. So was post just you with the hard drives editing on Premiere on your iMac at home?
Yeah, it's just like I bought a laptop. I did a comedy special with Wit that we call The Golden One, and that money allowed me to get a laptop, and that's kind of what I edited the entire movie on. And so it's just me and the laptop and like the 3 hard drives I had to use, because like one hard drive got filled up, and then I had to bring another one in, and so yeah.
Did you find it helpful to edit your own debut feature? Do you feel like if you guys had the money, you would have hired an editor?
No, I like editing. Editing is like part of the process to me.
Totally.
I enjoy editing my own stuff. I don't think I could give that up.
Yeah. And what were you doing in your personal life financially, sort of like during this whole time period?
Okay, so at the end of 2019, I got paid for The Golden One as co-director, and then I got paid more money as editor of that movie. And so at the end, I got paid at February 2020, and so
good timing.
Since the job ended, now I can collect unemployment, and there's an unemployment surplus for COVID. And so I was living off of that, and I think we sold a TV show to Amazon, maybe, and I was getting the first checks of that.
Dope.
And so that is what allowed me financially to take all that time off and not work for that entire time.
Yeah. You guys have the final cut of Civil Dead. Is there you mentioned that you guys needed more money for post. Was that just for color and sound? And
it's for clearing music is mainly.
Got it. Got it.
It's like extremely expensive.
So expensive.
We thought we were like, oh, we'll just use like indie artists that are on the same label that Wit is with his like music stuff.
Yeah.
And that was because that's not the case. No matter how cool the artist is, they do have people that own their music that they kind of sell the rights to. Or like, not sell it. I don't know how it works, but they have people talking for them that they're completely out of the picture.
Yeah.
And each song has a dollar amount that is like non-negotiable. Basically.
Was all that music in the script and you guys were like, we have to use it, we can't? Like...
No, it was part of the post thing.
So how much money did you guys have left for like film festivals, and what was the process like trying to find distribution?
So I took all the film festival costs, which were, I spent just a little over $900 on all that, and it was just a fucking waste of it was such a waste of money.
Yeah.
And because the only people that actually like responded to the film was Slam Dance.
Yeah.
And then all my other festivals were from Slam Dance, which is like, hey, please send your film here. We'll send you a waiver code.
Yeah.
Or waives the cost. And each festival afterwards, like Calgary Underground, and like Mammoth or whatever, was through Slam Dance.
That's great.
I do believe. Yeah. Not that like, oh my God, Civil Dead's so great. It should have been accepted everywhere. I do. I know that people watch it, they go, I just don't fuck with this. But I also believe that a lot of people don't view
completely agree
submission. So I'd be like really cautious of like putting too much money in, like, but there are film festivals like Sidewalk Film Festivals that did get it through the submission process. So it was still an option. So.
It's so crazy because you think that's even 1/50th of the budget, but I so agree with you, Clay. Like, I think a lot of these bigger fests are not watching movies.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just like, maybe it's just cope on my part, and they are watching it. They're just like, dude, I just don't with this.
Yeah.
That is absolutely in the cards, a possibility. But I was like shocked with like the amount of like, not like that I thought I made a masterpiece or anything. Honestly, at the end of the day, I didn't know what I made because it's like it all blurs in my head.
Sure.
I didn't know if I made an actual good movie.
Yeah.
But I did think that like, oh, I've seen some real fucking ass at film festivals before. So like I did have it in my head that like I was gonna make it at all these different festivals, and me and Whit were like shocked with the amount of rejection.
Tell me how Utopia found you guys, and tell me a little bit about the roadshow you guys did.
Utopia found it by wanting to interview Whit. Whit was in a film. I forget what the movie's called. Petunia Updates directed a movie that Whit was in. Yeah. That was in Sundance.
Yeah.
And Robert, who owns Utopia, was like, hey, I want to talk to you because you're a musician, I'm a musician. We both work in film. I want to talk to you about your new movie that's in Sundance. And Whit was like, I've never seen this movie, and I don't even know if I'm in it that much. So like, there's literally, I have nothing to talk about. But I do have a film playing at Slam Dance that I do want to talk about, and I'll send you a link, watch it, and he watched it, and he was like, oh, this is sick. Please let us release the film.
That's crazy.
The industry believes it's hard to sell films out, which is like not true. Like a lot of films that I played with. Yeah. Another film, Therapy Dogs, was also picked up by Utopia there, and other films are picked up there. And so like I don't even know what they're yapping about, but so we were like, we found that to be like a win, even though like it is like the way the movie got made was like someone just called me and offered it, and then the way the movie got distributed was Utopia wanted to, or Robert from Utopia wanted to do a podcast with Whit. So like it's not like it's just like dumb luck, but like we put ourselves in a position to be lucky. Yeah. So
I think that's super important. And what a great story. And I love Utopia, and it felt like a perfect match to y'all. And then you guys kind of took it on a roadshow, like you were talking about, like taking it from city to city.
Yeah.
And you guys
so Utopia like they linked up with Alamo to do like a tour with it, because Robert had it in his mind of like, oh, it'd be cool just to like, do something different with the release of this film, because like, I don't really see a world where this is going to be a wide release or even a limited release. And so, like, they did the road show, which was really cool. We went on tour with it, and we did, like, and then it did actually come out in some theaters, around the world, or around the United States, and then got picked up in France, and then got picked up in England. Yeah. So those are the two, like, these are the, 3 different countries that we played in.
Totally. It feels so perfect because you guys have amazing personalities, and it's like, I think people will come to see you, but then you stay for the movie and you're like, holy cow, it'd be so good. So good. Just kind of ending the chapter on the Civil Dead, it sounds like there's a lot of crazy coincidences, but is there any like practical advice you can pull out of making basically a $30,000 movie you can tell the people?
Here's the things that you need to do. You need to own the equipment. You need to have the equipment handy. Don't rely on like thinking that you can make a movie in a certain time window, and where you only have enough money to have it rented from here to here. Make sure you have the equipment. Yeah. That's going to be a lot. It's going to save you a lot of pain. There is things in filmmaking that are like really risky that we didn't do, which is like, oh, you can make a film by like paying nobody and just like filming whatever and just making sure you got it and you're doing it. And I love movies that are made like that. Yeah. There's a lot of movies that were made like that in Slam Dance the year that most of the movies actually in Slam Dance were made in that way. Yeah. And they had a life after Slam Dance. They got distribution or whatever. But be careful with making movies like that. The way we made Civil Dead is our producer was like really careful with making sure everything is on paper. Yeah. So like, if we hired a sound person, they get paid this hourly rate and they worked this to this hours. They didn't. Yeah. And if they went over that, we paid them overtime. Yeah. and like every location is like signed for or whatever. And so like we were very specific with this, and this is like, I know this is more specific than probably what you wanted, but it is a reality of filmmaking that I don't think is getting talked about enough.
Agree.
Just like make sure you get some stuff on paper, because when we sold to a Utopia, they asked for all of that and more. I know that stuff sounds scary too. Another thing you could do is just make the movie, and if someone wants to put it out, I'm telling you 2 different things, but I'm just telling you the 2 realities. The most important thing at the end of the day is you make the movie. Here's the main thing you need to worry about: just make sure you finish the damn thing. Yeah, that you have a locked picture. Just like that's the only goal that you should worry about. Everything else after that, disregard what I said earlier. All that stuff. If you want to really be careful, get everything on paper, but just make the damn thing.
Yeah. Rule number 1, make the movie.
Yeah.
Rule number 2, if you know someone that's a great producer, get them on board.
Get them on board. Get some smart people that also have lawyers.
Yeah.
Lawyers can be a pain in your ass, but they can also help you in certain situations.
Clay, is amazing. I love the film. I'm so excited. Can you tell us anything about what you guys are working on next?
We're trying to get another one off the ground. We're going to the more legit route, and it's a pain in my ass. It really is. It's tough. It just seems impossible. Making a movie with a real budget is impossible. And guess what, gang? I think I'm going to have to resort to making another no-budget film.
Do it. Do it.
So, I mean, that's like my mode right now, because I am getting fed up with like trying to find real money.
So, Clay, if the people want to see more and follow your journey, where can they find you?
I just followed Clay Tatum everywhere on this brand new website called X, which is really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
A place of free speech, which basically means seeing people getting killed. Oh, I see people getting murdered on that website every day.
Love your shorts. So they're on YouTube. Go find them.
They're on YouTube. They're on Vimeo. You can find them if you want.
Just look them up.
Also, if you want to see The Soul Dead, I recommend watching it on Canopy. It's a website where you just enter in your library card information, and you can watch it for free.
Yeah.
So that's the best place. And you can also watch every Joe Swanberg movie we talked about. They have a lot of Hong Sang-soo. He makes 20 movies a year, so you can see all of them on there, too.
Yeah. I think all of A24 stuff is still on Canopy. Yep. It's a great resource. I feel like I might have seen Civil Dead on Hulu.
It was picked up by Showtime. Which is also Paramount Plus or something.
I think that's how I saw it. But yeah, I think it was with
also,
ads.
it plays on TV.
It does play on TV.
It plays on Showtime. Has some weird, like, it's called Showtime Extreme. Calm down. Yeah, it's not extreme.
That's a remote drop.
Quite mild.
It's very civil.
But my mom has sent me screenshots of it. Comes on the Antenna TV.
Casino Boys. We're all gonna go check it out.
Casino Boys is a podcast I do. It's Patreon only right now because I just don't have time to actually do main feed episodes. But I also have a podcast called American Arts and Culture Review. There's a backlog over there.
Check them out.
We actually, when we were making The Civil Dead, we were podcasting then. So if you want to hear me yap, those are avenues that you can go to see me.
Great resource.
But
and then you directed Wit's new special. What is that going to be called?
Co-directed that with Wit.
Co-directed with Wit.
That is actually on spec.
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't know if that's actually the right term. We did it independently.
Independent. Keep an eye out. Follow the socials.
Yeah.
When it drops, wherever it drops, we're excited to see it.
Thanks, gang.
Clay, thank you so much. We'll see you on my second film once you guys get it done.
All right, great. Thanks.
That was an awesome interview with Clay. He had so much great info for doing things super shoestring. And what I like is if you live in LA, if you know people, you can do a feature for less than $50K. Like, he just told us all the mistakes, all the music licensing issues. It's like, you can do a feature for dirt cheap if you know the right people. So that's a huge caveat. Make sure to always be networking and expanding your network. Quick update on Petunia. I've been working on those scenes that I talked about last week. We're figuring them out. I'm just really getting them on paper and trying to figure out how to integrate them into the screenplay. There's so much more work to be done. I have some good conversations coming up this week that I'm very excited for. Hopefully we'll keep the ball rolling. I've also spent a little bit of that writerly energy working on my side screenplay as well as some shorts just for funsies. So I should have more really exciting updates for Petunia very soon. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in to the My First Film podcast. Make sure to check us out on socials at My First Film Pod. Check out our website, myfirstfilmpod.com. And make sure to check out provideocoalition.com. There who distribute this podcast. I have my article with Clay on there right now. There's so many more educational resources that are totally free for filmmakers. Gratitude to Mackenzie Malley, Avery Pascal, Kenny McMillan, and Topher Hammond for supporting this podcast. And we'll see you guys on the next one.